Hello to Dal. Happy New Year.
Hello. Happy New Year.
Hi to Dal.
Oh, hello.
Is your health good?
Yeah, I'm taking medicine. Yeah, so it's good.
Okay, good.
Hi, Alberto. Little Hung, Mai.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. Tom also.
Hi, Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
ไม่ได้ยินอะไรเลยคุณเอ็ม
เสียงไม่ชัดเลยครับ
John, are you here now? Sawadika, John. Sawadipi Mai.
มากันหรือยังฮะ
Yes,
อาจารย์ครับเสียงไม่ชัดเลยครับ
มากันหรือยัง
คุณวรศักดิ์อยู่ไหมครับ Are you there, วรศักดิ์ The audio, Ajah's audio needs adjusting.
yeah, there was some trouble. Yes.
Perhaps we'll start and see if the audio gets fixed. Nina, do you have anything you'd like to start with today?
Yes. Ajahn mentioned some weeks ago about body sense. And she said there is something that is there's hardness, and there is something that is touched. So usually we think more about the object and the experience, but not about something that is touched. And body sense, I heard someone saying that she thinks immediately of the body, of the whole body. But it is good if Ajahn can elaborate a little, because we are used to connect all the different moments of body sense and thinks that it is something staying with the body. And of course, we cannot try to find out. It's not a matter of trying to find out, but it is good to consider more that we are inclined to tie together all the different moments, and that body sense is just a very short moment all over the body. And when it is all over the body, we are inclined to think of the whole body. So maybe, since there are misunderstandings, it's a good thing if Ajahn can elaborate a little more on this one.
She may be having problems with the audio. They may be trying to fix it. So
Yes.
I just add a few comments. First of all, when you mentioned that it was discussed how there's more understanding of experience, but I think that what was said was that there's more understanding of what is experienced, the tangible object or the visible object or the sound, but we forget again and again about the experiencing, because there's always the idea that I experience the tangible object, the hardness or the heat,
Yes.
or the visible object or the sound, but actually it's just a moment of experiencing, just a moment of touching, and then gone completely, no one that experiences anything. And if the tangible object hadn't impinged on the body sense, then there couldn't be any experience. And we know that there is body sense all over the body, but at the moment of touching, there's no thought about where it is or all over the body. So the thinking about all over the body and taking it for a body is just thinking and taking it for something. But actually at the moment of hardness being experienced, no thought about where or location or over the body. So because it arises and falls away so rapidly, so quickly, there's the idea of something there and my body and my painful experience, and everything is mixed up together. But actually it's just a rupa, just a tangible object that's experienced for a moment and then gone, gone completely. And the body sense, just like the eye sense or the ear sense, it's a gross rupa, more readily apparent than subtle rupas, but actually it doesn't appear now. Visible object or the tangible object appears, but the body sense does, it appears, but it has to be there, but it's just thought about, but it's just a rupa that is impinged on and then gone. And I remember last week Chanti mentioned something about how there seems to be a body, while there's the idea of someone here, Nina or Sarah, there's going to be the idea of body, there's going to be the idea of table, there's going to be the idea of leg, arm, always the idea of something, because it's not the understanding of just the reality that appears now. What is touch, the hardness, is just hardness, no matter it's the hardness of the table or the hardness of the arm or any hardness, it's just hardness, no body that can be experienced at all. Did you have anything more on this topic, Chanti? Anything more about body that you wish to bring up? Because I remember we discussed it a little bit last time.
Not for the moment, thank you.
And how about pain, painful feeling? Is it a reality or a concept, Chanti?
It's a reality. The Vedana is a reality. And
Just-
very short.
Yes.
And afterwards there's thinking, which is
Right.
not reality.
And then it's then there's thinking about the concept of pain. Like now, there's thinking about pain, but no pain being experienced. So it's thinking about the idea of it. But at
Yeah.
the moment when it arises with bodily experience, when there's the unpleasant feeling, the painful feeling, it's real just for that moment only and then gone.
I did find something that Nina wrote in a memory or to Lodewijk, that Sujin explained why Vedana with body
ไม่ได้ยินอะไรเลยใน
impact.
เอ็น
Shall I continue?
Carry on, Chanti.
Why the Vedana cannot be indifferent, not be neutral, because the impact.
Right.
So that's
The
real.
direct impact.
We don't read that very often when it's talking about Vedana. So I find it very helpful that Nina wrote it down.
So at the moments of seeing, hearing, smelling and tasting, they always arise with neutral feeling. But when it's bodily experience, it's either pleasant feeling or unpleasant feeling because of the impact, as you say. Yeah. No matter very slight pleasant feeling or slight unpleasant feeling or strong pleasant feeling or strong painful feeling, but cannot be neutral feeling at that moment.
Yes, and somehow I understood it better, that it's real then at that moment, very short moment. Thank you. You're muted, Sarah.
And then thinking and dreaming about the painful feeling and worrying about having it again. But actually, it's just thinking of the idea, the fantasy about it, because the painful feeling itself is gone. So by the time there's aversion and thinking about it, it's completely gone.
I'm appreciating more and more that all this thinking too is just conditioned.
Right.
Yes, thank you.
Jan, have you got your microphone working now?
yes สวัสดีค่ะ
Sawadika, sawadiki.
Sawadika.
สวัสดีครับท่านอาจารย์
Happy New Year.
Yeah, สวัสดีครับ
Eve, I think you're then.
I am. Sawadika, everyone. Sawadika, John. I had a question from last week. The state of enlightenment, one of the factors is unconditioned reality, along with kilesas and the defilements eradicated and so forth. But I would like to know, what is Dhammas arise very rapidly and they are conditioned. So therefore, what is unconditioned reality? What is that, please?
usually we can understand and talk about just that which is now appearing because it's there, right? But how can there be the imagination of different things from this? Never be the same, never like anything now at all. But thinking about seeing, liking, disliking, see, how can it arise there must be conditions for its arising. As long as there is still conditions for anything to arise, it has to arise for sure. Even right now, nobody can make the thing to arise, but now it's there. It seems like almost all the time. Well, there are other reality too, since there are conditions for everything, and there's no understanding of the condition for the arising of whatever arises now. How can there be the end of that which is conditioned to arise? That's why only understanding the reality which is there and the conditions for its arising. And there are means or ways to understand the truth of the conditions until it can let go that which condition what is there now, not to arise again. When there's no condition for anything to arise, nothing can arise. Is it possible? So another word for nibbana is the end of attachment, loba, clinging, which there are conditions for clinging to arise on and on and on, non-stop, from moment to moment, after seeing, hearing, condition, and thinking, and so on. That's why as there are conditions for anything to arise, there must be that which now appears because it has arisen by condition. But when there's no condition at all for anything to arise at all, how can there be seeing and thinking and liking? And now that's the end of ignorance and attachment of that degree, stage by stage, to understand the very moment of experiencing that moment which eradicate the cause, the condition for whatever is there, which has been eradicated, not to condition that to arise again. We don't have to call it what, we don't have to name it, but is it possible? Is it true that now what is now appearing is conditioned only by conditions to condition its arising? But when there's no condition, how can there be that which now appears? Impossible. No seeing, no thinking, and so on. But in the beginning, the first stage of enlightenment is the understanding of what is there now as not self, and understand more about the conditions for that reality to arise until there is the moment of letting go as daily life, whatever is there, so very natural, so very subtle. It's not just a sudden moment of being tired of this and that arising and falling away. It's not that moment, but it gradually arising unknowingly, depending on understanding how much understanding is there about the reality as it's so true that it's not me or nothing at all. Little by little, this is the way to let go the clinging and taking that for something, because the truth is directly experienced until it appears as it is, stage by stage, and until the moment of ending the condition for wrong understanding and the cling to that understanding has been completely eradicated. We don't talk about the word, but we talk about the truth. No matter what we call it, is there such moment, no arising, which is now arise and falls away from moment to moment all the time. Otherwise, one cannot think about that. Is this possible for what is there arising to stop? It's arising, no more. But it has to be the understanding of conditions for its arising. And by understanding so well, right understanding works its way. What is the use of just that, which is conditioned to arise, not by anyone, but by its own condition, to be only that, only once in samsara, never to arise again, on and on, on and on, and on, non-stop. Is it tiring, boring? What's the use of just arise and falls away? instantly from moment to moment. No one there, nothing there at all. If it's not that moment of panya to begin to see the danger, the boredom of that which just arises non-stop, on and on, from life to life, from moment to moment. What about it's better not for anything to arise again, to arise anymore.
And
I then there's no doubt about what is said by such and such word.
Eve, if I could just add a short word that I understand, I think your puzzlement about the term unconditioned, but it helps to understand first what is meant by conditioned reality. And as Ajahn has been explaining, realities are conditioned in the sense that they need certain conditions in order to arise. They can only arise if those conditions are present. And so unless those conditions are present, there's no arising. So the term unconditioned actually means not conditioned like conditioned realities. So Nibbana doesn't require conditions in order for it to arise. It exists, if you like, independently of there being the right conditions for its existence. And so that's how the term unconditioned or not conditioned might be a better way of thinking of it, is to be understood. It doesn't require certain conditions for it to arise. It has existence independently of any conditions.
Thank you. Thank you, Tanajan. Thank you, Jonathan. And that leads to another question. Please, Tanajan, would you say some words about detachment, but also attachment?
Because people don't use any word at all. But when there's no understanding of anything which is now appearing, who knows that there is attachment to that object unknowingly, something there to be experienced. And when the experiencing arises to experience that, as no one is there. So it's me, but in truth, it's not me. It's the reality which is conditioned just to arise for seeing only, not any moment, not other function at all. That's why beginning to understand the absolute truth as what is there now. And it's so very subtle. What is there now arises and falls away, and it experiences whatever is the object. It performs its function just to see, not to remember, not to think of the shape and form or anything, but just experience clearly the object is the function of the reality which is the chief in experiencing the object. An object, only one object, so clear, nothing more, and then gone. To understand that actually what we take for things and people, in truth, they are gone completely. Sunyata. It's there only when it appears. That's all. So, what is your question again?
Your explanation helps with to further understanding, shed some light on attachment and the binding, the characteristic of it, the binding and the bondage of it. And the next question would be then a few words, Tanajan, please, about detachment.
If there is no understanding of what is there, can anyone tell the difference between attachment and detachment? That's why not understanding anything at all. And as one wakes up from sleep, there is a reality appearing. If it's not the sound or the sight or the smell or anything, it's that which is the state of experiencing is there. Who knows that there is attachment to that which appears, even there's no understanding what is it. Ignorance is there with something. We don't name it or call it at all, but it is a something. We don't know whether it is that which experiences or what is there, but it's there. Ignorance of that which experiences, because at that moment the object of experiencing does not appear. Just wake up, and then the bhava, the state of experiencing is there, not understanding what is it. And since there's no understanding of the truth, that it is just a bhava, a characteristic which is there appearing, no one there, nothing there at all. There is attachment instantly, no matter to what is there. For example, if there is a sound of something, thunder or anything, and if it's not known as anything yet, but it's something there, it is something there. It can explain what is there is attachment. That's why to learn to understand the truth of reality is not just think about the word, because at moment of thinking about a word, there is the thinking, no understanding of that at all. That it's just a thinking things about that sound and no understanding. And there is the unknown attachment already to that which appears. So when it is different from that, it must be right understanding of the truth. Otherwise, how can there be letting go, wrong understanding or clinging? For example, if we don't know what wrong understanding of the idea of self is, how can it be eradicated? How can it be letting go? How can it be detachment, not as attachment as usual? That's why only when there is the understanding, begin to understand. And it's the function of the understanding to realize the truth and beginning to develop the idea, the right understanding of it's useless, that which arises and then gone, never to return at all, no matter what right now. That's why there has to be right understanding of each reality which appears, no matter it's that which is the object, which is experienced, or the reality which arises and experience from birth to death, different from other reality, just arise sometime, not always, not all the time. That's why there are different realities. When they are unknown, the attachment is there. So when it's known, it's begin to be detached from that as something in the very beginning. But there cannot be the eradication of attachment to sensuous object yet, just only wrong understanding, which has been accumulated years and years ago, comparing a moment of beginning to understand the truth from hearing and considering that is not yet the direct understanding. So how can there be the clear understanding of the moment when it arises and falls away? The truth can be discerned and to directly experience, realize the truth, but not with understanding or attachment, that just the understanding itself. That's why among all the realities which arises, right understanding is the best, the most valuable of all conditioned reality arising and falling away. Understanding is not just hearing and considering, but it is the understanding of the word of truth, the meaning of it, not just to be remembered, but to develop the understanding of what that word talk about the nature, the true nature of what is there now, to be studied, to be understood as no one and nothing, so firm, little by little, as Satya Parami and Adidana Parami, never change. The truth is only there now, no other moment at all. That's why what is the truth should be studied and understanding the truth little by little. For example, what is that which sees and what is that which is seen? What is that which hears and what is that which heard? The absolute truth of the very fine, very deep, and very subtle reality. So the subtlety of reality that Buddha taught is no other moment, nowhere, but it's here and now, so deep, so subtle, that its truth does not appear to ignorance and clinging, but to right understanding stage by stage until its moment of enlightenment, the truth. It begins from understanding, so understanding perform its function, not to cling at all. When there is the understanding of that which now appears, that is there just only when it appears and then gone, never to return. But in truth, even it's now appeared, we take it for a moment or a reality, but in truth, it's the sign of that which arises and falls away in split second, not a second, but split seconds. And this is the absolute truth, because seeing is not hearing, but how come to appear like together right now? Impossible. That's why what is there does not appear as it is. The world, the real world, is not like what is now appearing at all. Just living in the dream world, thinking, liking, very pleasant feeling, very unpleasant feeling, but gone, everything, only when it appears. And shorter than that, even at moment when it's there are sub or split seconds moment of that which appear as a moment of touching, of hardness, of softness, or that which is seen, or that which is heard. The word of blindness, darkness, not understand the truth. So thinking, imagine when the truth appear, it's not just like now at all. Because when they are all together, there cannot be any clear understanding of anyone at all. But when only one appears, it appears well. And when Panya is there, it directly experiences the truth. But when there's no Panya, even it's now hard, no understanding of it has a reason. And it's not there when it does not appear. That's why there has to be the very firm confidence of the truth, to be satya, to be true to the truth, to be truthful to what is there as it is, as not self. Otherwise, we would a lot about paticca samuppada or ayatana or indriya, but no understanding of this moment. So what is the use of taking all the words in mind to think about, but not understanding that what Buddha taught is just to understand what is there now, any moment, only when it's there. He taught about the moment of seeing, hearing, thinking, liking, disliking, when it's there to be known. Because hearing so much about it, understanding the truth, that actually it's conditioned to arise just to be only that reality, that characteristic, not other characteristic, only once in samsara and gone, unknowingly. So very closely, moment after moment. That's why the world appears as something all the time. In truth, nothing at all. What is there arises and falls away in split seconds. What appears is only the image, the nimitta of whatever one takes it for seeing, for hearing, for thinking, for liking. In truth, nothing. And since it's so true, right understanding can directly experience it when it let go the idea of something enough to understand that which is conditioned to arise and falls away. Not other thing, but now as it is. That's why beginning to understand what is the meaning of the subtlety of reality, because even it now appears, it does not appear as it is because of the rapidity of the succession until hearing the words of truth from the enlightened one and the understanding whether it's true or not, and have confidence of it, that the truth is that actually there's no one. But it has to be the understanding of a reality enough to let go the idea of self from that reality. For example, what is seen now? Anytime, something, a door, a hat, a window, and so on. But what are there in reality? So rapidly arising and falling away. So it appears as the nimitta of something, nimitta of the reality, seeing, painful feeling, is not thinking, and so on, one by one, little by little. But they are all there. And what appears is not all which are there. For example, now, when we talk about the seeing, we don't talk about any cetasika or the mental factors which condition the arising of seeing at all. We just talk about that which experiences, that which is seen. But we don't use the word what is seen because no understanding of it as only that which is seen. We see a doll, we see a cat, see instantly. That's why the world is covered up with ignorance and attachment. So in order to understand detachment, it is only a moment of understanding what is there as not it is to be object of attachment, because it's gone, just be there and then gone. And it cannot be taken for anything because it's gone before it's been taken for something at all.
Yes, Ajahn, the attachment, so formidable, so powerful. And there, the third chitta in a process of chitta, not necessary thinking later. It's already right there. Thank you so very much, Ajahn. Thank you, Ajahn.
I'd just like to add a brief word on this also, Eve, because I think this ties in neatly with your previous question about conditioned and unconditioned. Some people think of detachment as being the absence of attachment, but obviously it's more than that, because there can be absence of attachment, but still no detachment. For example, when there's dosa, there's no attachment, but there's no detachment either. And so obviously, when we talk about detachment, we're referring to kusala citta of some kind or other. And at a certain level, when there's any kusala citta, there's a certain level of detachment. For example, when there's dana, generosity, there's detachment from what is being given away at that moment. But there's a deeper level of detachment also. And that is the level about which Ajahn has been speaking. The detachment which comes from, which is associated with the understanding of realities, of seeing realities as they truly are, as anicca, dukkha, and anatta, which we can summarize generally by saying conditioned. Because when the conditioned nature of realities is seen by understanding, the realities that are conditioned are ephemeral, have no intrinsic merit, can never be a refuge, And that is the basis for the detachment in the ultimate sense, seeing things as they truly are. Itself brings detachment from those realities.
So being true, well, the truth is the refuge. Dhamma is the refuge. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Dhamma is the refuge, but conditioned realities are not a refuge.
No, never.
Could I ask a question about the Cetasika Ditthi? As a Cetasika, there's a lot of filling in still, which makes it for me too much of a thinking process, a concept. So I'd really like some help to come back to the Paramatta Dhamma of Ditthi, Cetasika, not the story of wrong view.
That
So-
can be the understanding from the very beginning. In order to understand what we call cetasika, if we don't use that word, but there is like or hatred and other thing like intention. Is it real? Each one is intention real? Is there any intention in life, in a day?
Yes.
We don't have to name it or call it, but we can understand the nature of it, that it's real, so it's a reality. It has a reason, and there must be conditions to condition the arising of that particular reality to be such hatred or intention without calling them as this or that at all. But it's there so real. And what is it? The tree, the flower, the bed, the cloth cannot experience. So it's not intention. It has no intention, no like or dislike at all. So what is the characteristic, the nature of that, which is intention right then when it's there? It has to be a reality. And when we talk about the reality, it has its own characteristics, different ones. For example, intention is not greed at all. What is there so real arising to appear as it is a reality? No one there at all. This is the beginning to understand what is there, even to let go attachment. It has to be from what? From wrong understanding. Because to let go the attachment to sensuous object cannot be conditioned to arise yet. But even have the wrong understanding, wrong idea about that which appears, brings about the wrong in life, many different ones. But the right understanding condition the wholesome reality, because right understanding what is right, what is wrong, what is wholesome or what is unwholesome, what can be developed, and the wrong path, which one takes it, cannot understand the truth, the Ariya Satya at all. That's why we learn to understand the nature of reality. But if Buddha didn't use any term or any word at all, and they are so different ones, how can there be the understanding of the difference between intention and greed and so on? So that's why the reality which arises from birth to death experiences an object only. It cannot like, it cannot dislike, it cannot be intention or anything at all. But it arises to experience what is there as the object clearly and then gone. Only that. It is different from when it experiences an object with like or attachment to that object. There must be object of attachment. There must be object of greed. There must be object of intention. That's right. That which is intention of greed and so on is the reality which can experience the object, but it is not that which is the chief of just arise to experience. So we can use the word citta for that which arises to experience the object clearly. And the other arises with citta. It's meant to factor if we use the word, but it can experience. But it's not that which arises just to experience clearly. Only the object, not other thing at all. So when there is that which has experienced the characteristic of the object, there can be another reality which likes that. That reality which like also experience that which is like is the object of liking, but it's not the chief, the citta, but it is the cetasika. That which arises with citta, experience the same object which citta experience, but it's not the chief, but it is attached, or it is the intention to experience, and so on. That's why what appears at this very moment, seeing the other reality does not appear, even the conditions for its arising like phassa, contact, feeling is there. But as they do not appear, what appears can be known, that it's only that which is the chief of experiencing the object clearly, that's all. But the other different Dhamma or the reality which can experience are different ones, one by one, like intention is not the one-pointedness, which we use the term concentration, or the cetana, intention, or vedana, the feeling. They are there. They are the reality which can experience the object, but it cannot just be only conditioned to arise to direct, to experience clearly the object. That's why we have the word citta, one characteristic, and cetasikas, different ones. Altogether, in roughly is 52 cetasikas, but each one is different by different condition, by different accumulation, by different object, all by conditions unknown, suddenly, instantly, anatta, and then sunyata, instantly. This is the truth of what is there now. So we can understand the depth, the subtlety of the truth that is hidden. Even it appears, it does not appear as it is, because no understanding to understand it. From hearing, considering, and have confidence so firm that the truth cannot be changed at all. What is seen is not always there. The different object comes in from this to that all the time. If someone is coming in the room, see, new object, it's experience, but it's seen as a person or cat or dog, depending on thinking, not the reality which just arises to experience. It doesn't think, it just experience and then gone. That's why beginning to understand what is meant by citta and cetasika, in order to understand that when it's there, no word that it's citta or cetasika, but its function, its characteristic is there differently. So there can be the understanding that actually they are not the same and nothing can be taken for anything permanent at all. That's why at this moment of understanding what is there, who knows what is the object of sati or of the development of understanding? By conditions, because the object hasn't arisen yet, and then it is conditioned to arise, to appear. So it depends on what object is there to be the object of understanding as it is. So is there any doubt about citta and cetasikas? They are real. They are that which can experience the object, but they are different. Chitta is only the chief of experience, the object clearly, that's all. And the other reality, which experience the object the same as Chitta, has different characteristic and different function. That's all. Pacha is there, feeling is there, memory, remembering is there. See? But it does not appear, so it cannot be known. But when it appears, it's time to understand it. When there is the intellect understanding enough, not forget what has learned, to understand that object as it is.
There's no doubt about Chitta and Chittasika. There is a lack of confidence
So what
as to recognize concept and not recognizing it all the time. There's this restlessness about that.
That's why there can be the understanding of how much understanding of Chitta and Cetasika. This is the beginning to be firm, little by little, because we don't have to name it. But at moment when pleasant feeling is there, nobody can change it to be seeing or attachment, but it feels the reality which just arises to feel toward that object which is there, to be pleasant feeling, indifferent feeling, or unpleasant feeling. By conditions, no choice. No one can make anything to arise at all. Unexpectedly too, because it is not there as soon as it has arisen yet. But it's there when it's conditioned just to arise, to be there. Such there, never change. Nobody can change. It's gone instantly. So how can anyone do, or how can anyone change? Only it's not I, because it's gone completely, absolutely, never to return. Is it not true? And the answer is whether it is the confidence of the truth enough or not enough yet. Because now we are talking about that which is now appearing anytime. Moment of hearing, moment of thinking, moment of liking, moment of doing something, eating something, walking, standing, and so on. What is there? The truth is that what is there? A reality, one at a time, to be known when there's enough hearing and considering the truth. That in truth, if there's still the idea of self, it is not the understanding what is meant by Dhamma at all. To learn Dhamma, to study Dhamma, it has to be the understanding of what is Dhamma. It's there now, which is not known as it is, until hearing about the truth of it, to understand. But it's not the direct experience of the truth yet. It's just talking about something to be known, and then haven't met the person, and then after hearing, and then it's time to meet the person. It is the moment of understanding who's there. Can be now. What is there? Seen, heard, touched. From eons and eons ago, seen, heard, touched, no understanding. But from now on, at moment of touching, it's time to understand what is there. Hardness or softness, heat or cold or warmness, and whatever, to be known as it's there. It's there, and then it's gone. When there is the understanding of it's no more when it's not there. But usually there is the idea of it's still there because it is something. But in truth, it's not something in itself, but it's taken by its shape and form, which from arising and falling away so very rapidly, conditions such make the shape and form to be known. That's why there must be the truth, the absolute truth, and then the nimitta, the shape and form or the sign of that reality, and then shape and form of that which is taken as something, concept, to make it known as a door or a shoe. When it's touched, it's only hardness, but when it's seen, it's different by the shape, the color, and the form. That's why learning to understand what is there as it is, not just to think about it, but to understand, seeing, because we talk about seeing, but it's not time to directly study the characteristic, which is not self, and it sees, it knows, it experiences the object which is in only a moment, and how short a moment is.
I appreciate very much.
Otherwise, it's not learning Dhamma, just a word and keep on thinking about it. But when there is the understanding of what is there to be known, it's what is there now. So the words about its truth by the enlightened one condition the understanding little by little of that which now experiences. No matter through what doorway sound is heard, there must be a reality which experiences it, which hears. Hardness appear, there must be a reality which experience hardness. So where's the shape and form? When it's the nature, the true characteristic of the reality which can be directly experienced. That is the subtlety of reality that Buddha said after his enlightenment. Dhammas are so very subtle. And who knows and who understands what is meant by subtle? Now it's so subtle because it's now arises and falls away unknowingly all the time. And it can be gradually known by panya, right understanding of its nature, from hearing, intellectual understanding, firm confidence, thira, sanya. It can condition any moment in life, at moment of walking, eating, drinking, instantly by conditions to begin to attend to that characteristic, which is usually unattentive at the.
If there's by conditions, I don't know what to call it, but the recognition that this is the way which happened, and all the other practice was dropped, like metta practice and meditation. There's no I there, but there's the restlessness that maybe the deity can also turn this around again. And then
Is it right understanding to think or to understand that it's not I, it cannot be me, it cannot be taken for anything, but what is it? If there is no understanding, it's there, I or something, deeply, unknowingly. As soon as one sees or heard or smell, the smell of what? The soup or the omelette or the flour, it's always there. But actually, in truth, no one experiences that odor or smell at all. That's why to have confidence has to be the understanding of the truth, the absolute truth of what is there. When we talk about meditation or doing something to gain knowledge or to understand, is it possible to do? Can anyone do? Is there anyone to do? Or the Buddha said, anatta. What does it mean? Dhamma, what does it mean? Ariya Satya, what does it mean? If it's not now, it's useless. because it cannot understand what is there. It just think about the other thing and try to do that with ignorance, no understanding of what is there now. So what is useful? What is helpful? What is truth? What is the truth? The moment when just thinking about meditation. But what is meditation? What is there? It is I thinking about meditation, trying so hard to have no idea of self. But at that moment, all are self because they are not known as they are, as no one and no thing. And what is meant by meditation? And what is that which meditates? And what's the use of doing such? Sitting, standing, walking. What about now? As this moment is not known, no matter one is there at meditation center or doing something or meditate, no understanding of that. Because even it's there now, it's not known. So how can it be known when there's no understanding now of what is there? Because it's exactly the same. Seeing is seeing, hearing is hearing, thinking is thinking, liking is liking. And what is the true meaning of meditation or meditate? Is there any understanding of that which is there at that very moment? And no thought, no idea about that at all. Just thinking to have no self. But what is it when it's not self? Or something. So the truth has to be implanted so very firm, satya, adidana, to understand that what is there is so true that it can be known as it is, but with understanding, not with ignorance. So now, when that is the understanding of the subtlety of reality, one begins, a right understanding begins to realize how much ignorance one has lived from eons and eons and eons up to now, and on, no understanding of what is there. And there are so many, many things appearing, and so many, many reality do not appear, even they are there. So there are so many different chittas performing its function one by one. But what is known or appear is only seeing. The chitta before seeing is not known. The chitta after seeing is not known. Only when what is known, like see, like is not seeing. There are many moments in between. And there are many realities together unknown. So how can it be I or thing? Only ignorance take it, like living in a dream world, thinking that what is there now so real, but in truth, it's not there anymore. So the absolute truth is so quite different from what is there together as something all the time. So many things in the world, but in truth, only one reality arises to experience, and that which is the object has arisen, and then they are fall away instantly, never to return. So what is there at that very moment? Nothing at all. Only a characteristic. Imagine the world of nothing. Only that which appears. So how can there be the idea of something around as usual when an object is there to right understanding, which can understand it as it is? In daily life, sometimes, some moment, the very pleasant moment is there, but not understanding it as just a reality. So I feel so very pleasant. cling to it, would like to have it again and again and again, but never the same, never at all. So there is what is there as the object of clinging and ignorance all the time, long, long time ago. So hearing about the truth, to have more confidence that this, as it's so true, it can be directly experienced. So the confidence of the truth is stronger and stronger and stronger until it can let go wrong understanding of self or thing. But it has to be directly experienced as it is, not as it appears as the world now. So,
And
yes, please.
Shanti, I think it has to always come back to this moment, because like when we were discussing about painful feeling, we can talk about which chittas it arises with, but if there is no painful feeling at this moment, we're just talking about the story of painful feeling. But at the moment when there is painful feeling, that characteristic can be known as a Dhamma, and it falls away. Just a Dhamma, not my painful feeling. And it's the same with wrong view. We can talk about how it arises with Lobha Mula Chittas when the reality of Ditthi arises with the attachment. But what about when there is wrong view at this moment, when there is the idea that what is touched is something, my arm, or it's my finger that hurts? At the moment of thinking wrongly, only then can the nature of wrong view be understood just a little bit. And when there is the idea of doing something, sitting to have metta or trying to have more metta, isn't it the idea then of I can do something, I can control, I can try to make it arise? The lobha then and the wrong view at those moments can be understood even at those moments of trying. And the other point I want to mention is, because I understand your concern and fear that this is another practice or another system. It's not Ajahn's teaching or anyone's teaching. What we're talking about is just understanding a little more about the truth at this moment as taught by the Buddha. It's the Buddha's teachings which we can read about and hear about and consider and test out at this very moment whether it's true. Is it true that no one and no thing is seen, that it's just that which is visible that is seen, or not true? So it's for the testing and understanding at this moment, not for following or just believing because Ajahn has said that it's so. It's for understanding
it's not
here and
the
now.
opposite. Actually,
It's
there's
the
a lot of
opposite.
enthusiasm recognizing the truth. And I was saying that the dropping of all the other practice is just noticing it. There's no I, it's just going that way. And very much appreciation to that the time is there to meet. I don't know how to put the words, but you know what I mean. The right teacher and people like you to listen to the true Dhamma. There's just, I was questioning this Cetasika that it also can happen again. And that's in this moment that the question came up, was the restlessness. Oh, but not I. Yeah, maybe I can also lose you again. Like maybe Ditthi can be conditioned so strong again that brings you off the path or me off the path.
Yeah. For a moment and then gone for a moment. So that's why the Buddha taught about the right path and the wrong path. So even when there is a hearing and considering and beginning to understand what is true and right, and the confidence is growing, but still there's bound to be doubt, there's bound to be many, many countless moments of wrong view. So moments of wrong path, but it's just for a moment. And these are just dhammas. It's not my wrong understanding or my ditthi. It's just another reality that arises, and it can be understood for what it is, just a dhamma that understands wrongly at that moment. Something that is seen, something that is heard, and then gone. So it has to be like that, because it's a slow and gradual path. There cannot be right understanding all the time. So, and it has to be understood. So the more understanding, the more ignorance and wrong view and different kilesa, different defilements become apparent. If it's not known when it arises, moments of wrong view, it can never be eradicated. So good to know that it's there, good to know when it appears.
And this enthusiasm and love for the truth, is there Chaitasikas as well, or is it just Panya and Sati? Or
again, only the understanding can know when it appears, like now, the piti, the joy or enthusiasm. Is it kusala piti, or is it piti with lobha? Because there can be enthusiasm with lobha when one's so excited to hear and learn more, or there can be the enthusiasm that arises together with understanding, the joy of understanding the truth. No one can give the answer, only understanding can know when the different dhammas appear. And this is the subtlety. And it's not I that can work it out and I that can find it, but they're different dhammas. So there can be wholesome piti and unwholesome piti.
oh, really?
There can be pleasant feeling with attachment, pleasant feeling with understanding.
So even piti can be unwholesome.
It can be whenever a lobha arises, a kusala piti is there, taking joy. So even when reading a sutta, it can be with wise reflection and understanding, or it can be with lots of attachment. And usually it's a combination, many, many moments of attachment and some moments of wise reflection. But if we don't know anything about dhammas and there's no understanding, we just assume when we're having a discussion or reading a sutta that it's all kusala piti, but not so at all.
No, there's this recognition, what you're just saying, that it's changing all the time while reading, for example, while listening. And I'm very happy
Different
to
moments.
hear all this.
Moments happy to see our friends or to listen to a jam, and then moments of wise reflection, different citas, different moments, and only understanding can know. And the main point of all is actually it doesn't matter whether it's kusala or akusala, wrong view or right view, because they're all just dhammas which are conditioned and arise and fall away, not self. So understanding can understand whatever appears without, and this is the detachment, without selection, without wishing to have metta, without wishing not to have ditthi, but just understand whatever appears just as it is.
Thank you very much. It clears a lot in the process of confidence and recognition, and that it's so fast changing all the time. Thank you.
And it has to be just as it is. No point wishing for more kusala or more metta or more panya, because life is just as it's conditioned to be.
Thank you so much, and Sujin as well. Thank you, Sujin and Sarah.
And Nina, did you want to bring up your topic again with the jam that you started at the beginning? We can't hear you, Nina. Still can't hear you, Nina.
The topic was body sense, that people hear the word body sense and think of the whole body. But actually, there are different moments, and we cling so much to words and stories, as Sarah reminded us. And then we don't know the reality. And it is difficult because body sense is all over the body. So that's why we have an idea of putting them together and then think of a whole, instead of knowing that there are so many different moments that there is impinging on the body sense. And in between, there are all the different other chittas and in different other processes. But this is not a matter of trying to know, because it's impossible to find out the moment. But it is useful to remember what we don't understand yet or what we don't know, only that. So it's good if Ajahn can add something on body sense.
Is there my body right now?
Not at all. And we know a theory, but we cling.
This has to be so very firm about nothing, only reality arising by conditions and then gone. So what we take for my body, the whole body, we still keep it as my body, shape and form. But in truth, no I, no thing, only a reality appears at moment when it is conditioned to arise. That's all, and then gone. Is it not true? That's why there must be satya and adidana, very firm confidence of the truth. So it cannot go away from the truth that it's now, right now, but it's not known clearly yet. That's why it has to hear more, consider more, and know that there must be only way to understand the truth at moment of understanding, which let go, the cover, which covers the truth all the time as something, ignorance and attachment pile up on and on and on and on and on. So when there is firm confidence of the truth, it's the moment of letting go the wrong understanding, which is so firm, to be less and less, little by little. And this is the only way. That's why there can be the moment of understanding what is meant by Khanti Parami and Viriya Parami. Otherwise, Buddha didn't teach about the 10 Parami at all. If we try the other way, is that Khanti? Is that Viriya? Is that Satya? Is that Adidana? It's not Nekama? Not at all. But at moment of not understanding yet, what is there? But it's there. It's conditioned to arise to be there. Otherwise, it cannot be there. So there's no one. And when it is there, and then when it's not there, it's gone, never to arise again. No one can find it anywhere at all. That is so true. So it's the way to learn to let go, clinging to it as permanent. What is there in this life is only in this life, not in the past or the future at all. And the future conditioned by what has experienced from life to life with many conditions to condition just a moment of that as a new person. So it's just very, very common, natural. From this moment, it would be next moment. From this life, it would be next life instantly, just like now. No one, no Nina, no Sujin, no Sarah, no Jonathan. No one, even right now. And when
It's very good you remind us all the time of the perfections, because that helps people to keep on the right path and not to cling to ideas on meditation.
if we understand what it's meant by bhavana, the development of right understanding, it means how long it takes time to develop the different high degree of understanding, stage by stage. Just hearing the truth of it cannot let go the idea of self, because right understanding does not directly experience the truth when there is no one. So when there's no one, it's different from hearing about there is no one, but now there are so many people around. That's why the truth is the truth. And right understanding only can experience the truth. And right understanding only which can let go or eradicate wrong understanding and the idea of self and clinging to that kind of view. So everything is now. What lack is only right understanding of the truth. So not me, so not my body, only hardness when it appears. And when it does not appear, it's not there. Why? There are conditions for its arising, but then gone instantly. So which one is still there? No one, no shape, no form, no nails, no tool, no toe, no hand, only hardness all over the body. And it is there when it is the object of right or that direct awareness and direct understanding of it. At moment of having firm confidence, it's quite relaxed, relief, or by conditions. So when there's no hearing, considering, there cannot be more understanding. Right understanding knows that. That's why it conditioned many, many wholesome moments. Otherwise, it would be unwholesome moment and ignorance as usual as before. So
It's
just
very difficult, Ajahn, to let go clinging to body. We are so used to it to think of the whole body and my body. Even we hear the words, there is no body and there is no one, and it maybe we can repeat the words like just and idle words, no meaning. But it's really understanding which has to be developed that can really understand and know what it means.
And it's time to understand more about whether there is I or not on my body. At this moment, is there anyone's body?
Body. In theory, we know.
No, I mean in truth, right now.
In truth, right now.
Yes, right
That's the trouble. That's difficult.
now. I mean that now, right now, is there anyone's body or one's own body?
We are thinking of other things, so then we don't think of the body.
But to understand the truth, it has to be closer to reality because it's there, taken from my body. To understand that actually it's not body, it's not my body. So what is it? It's there. To understand that actually what appears is there when it has a reason and then gone away instantly, unknown. But they are conditioned to be experienced at moment of experiencing. It's the object of experiencing. Only that. But in truth, nothing. Only one object at a time. One object. So at moment of touching, no matter outside or inside, what is there? Hardness or softness? Does it belong to anyone? Can it be my body or the other's body, my hand or the other person's hand? Not at all. In truth, it's only hardness. Otherwise, there cannot be a moment of understanding enough to let go. But in truth, it cannot be anything. It's only hardness. But there can be nimitta with ignorance and the way it appears as forms and shape to be taken, to be known, panyati, of that as something. My fork, my spoon, my house. But in truth, into the absolute truth, to let go the idea of self, it has to be understanding the truth at that very moment as it is. Now, it's not as it is because it's my body. But in truth, hardness can be anyone's hand or something, because it's hard. Only hardness can be experienced in truth.
Ajahn, you said there can be nimitta, this ignorance, but I did not understand that quite, the meaning of that.
Now, without understanding, nimitta seems to be so true. A bird is there. It cannot be cat, it cannot be dog, but it's the nimitta of that which is seen, different shape and form, and taken for something like bird and cat is panyati, made known as something. Make it known as a bird, make it known as a cat, make it known as my hand. But in truth, one doorway at a time, by conditions. Otherwise, there cannot be the perfect understanding or confidence of anatta, no one and no thing, because what is there is a reality, not the other reality at all. Hardness is hardness, no matter at any moment it's touched, it cannot be changed to be other thing. It's only experience and then gone, never to return at all. But clinging is there, taking it for permanent thing all the time. Eons and eons ago, comparing to not many moments of hearing about it. So how can it let go the idea of something until right understanding is sharp and strong enough to be able to directly experience the truth? That's why the teaching of the Buddha, the beginning, the middle, and the end, at the end, very beautiful of the very truth. So very true, whatever is there cannot be changed because he has directly experienced the truth. So each word of the teaching from his enlightenment is so true. What is there is conditioned to arise and then gone. Because even right now, it seems like there are moments of seeing, but what about moment of hearing? How can the seeing here impossible? So here, seeing has to be gone before hearing. But they are so close. It seems like nothing gone at all. Always there, I all the time, and he or his or him all the time. Someone, something all the time. And that is very natural for ignorance, because ignorance cannot understand the truth of what is there at all. So right understanding begins to understand what is what. Not understanding is real. It's not I, it's not anyone, but it arises and experience an object without any understanding of the truth. So it's not me or you or anyone. It doesn't belong to anyone. When it arises, it cannot understand what is there which appears. But when panya is there, it's quite different, opposite. It begin or it can understand until it can directly experience the truth. The truth is nothing, anatta. What is there? Just only when it appears so very short, because the truth is that it's so short. Only one single reality cannot be known at all by way of process of experiencing the object right now. That's why what is there is nimitta, but the understanding of nimitta, that without the Paramadadhamma, the absolute truth arising and falling away, there cannot be nimitta. That's why even there is nimitta of seeing, it is the understanding of nimitta as nimitta, different from taking nimitta as so real. It's there all the time. This is the difference between the idea, wrong understanding and right understanding of what is there. Now, always now. So Panya begins to understand the enormous ignorance of what is there from moment to moment. even intellectual understanding cannot eradicate wrong understanding. Only when it directly experienced clearly, stage by stage of the truth, no doubt anymore about the arising and falling away of nimitta and what does not have nimitta and what is there conditioned. Each word of the Buddha is so true because it's from his enlightenment, the absolute truth. The highest truth, because it cannot be changed. No matter anyone cannot change, because actually there are only conditions to condition whatever is there at that very moment as it is. But ignorance cannot understand the truth, and the arising and falling away makes the shape and form, and Panyati takes it for something, even not in words, but at very moment of seeing or experiencing. So the other kind of citta does not appear, only seeing appears as nimitta of the citta. But when panya is not sharp and it's not strong enough, it cannot let go. Even there is the understanding of the truth that now what appears, gone completely, arising and falling away, unknown, until it's known directly by panya, which has developed to the degree that it let go the other object before and after that which is experienced. The truth is there in daily life each moment, because what is life is the arising and falling away of citta, cetasika, and rupa. Otherwise, we use the word citta, but it's me, cetasika, and it's me, and rupa, it's mine. That's why the most important of learning the truth is to understand the characteristic of that which appears as it is. Otherwise, ignorance cannot understand it. And the way it appears, the nimitta, is made known by its characteristic of by its shape and form, nimitta. There must be reality and the nimitta of the reality, and then panyati, make it known as something. Like Kunina and Sujin, Jonathan and Sarah, Maeve, and so on. Otherwise, one cannot understand what is the meaning or what is meant by the truth, the absolute truth. If there's nothing, it means nothing. But when it's there, so it means that is true, and what is its truth, the absolute truth of it.
Ina, the sentence that you picked up upon, because I also heard the same thing when Ajahn mentioned about nimitta with ignorance. But I think that what is meant is that because of the arising and falling away, we know there is the nimitta of realities, and the signs, the shapes, the forms are taken with ignorance all the time as something or someone. So it doesn't mean the nimitta itself is with ignorance, but there is the ignorance of the nimitta, the ignorance of what appears, and the continually the taking it for being something, a fork or a bed or a computer or something. And there's the living in the world of concepts on account of the ignorance of the nimitta, of the realities that were experienced.
Yes, yes. We think of concepts, but it's ignorance, because
That's right.
as Jonathan often explained, it's not wrong to think of concepts in itself, but there can be a wrong view about them, not realizing we think they exist, they really exist, or we confuse them with absolute truth. And that's
this is back to Chanti's point. So there's always, because there is the nimitta of what is appearing, but there's always the taking those nimitta for something, someone, my experience, something that is touched, hardness, thinking about concepts wrongly on account of those nimitta. Like earlier, we discussed how there are the different realities, the truth, the absolute truth that can't be changed. And there is the nimitta are the signs of those realities which have risen and fallen away so rapidly. But there is the sign, the mark of those realities, and it conditions the taking the shape, the form, the signs as being dolls or people or houses. The concepts make known as something because of that ignorance. Does anyone else have any topics they'd like to bring up today?
Sarah, could you give me some examples of suffering as change, Viparamana dukkha, just some sort of daily life examples, because that's something we can understand even though we haven't attained the first noble truth, which is the absolute truth, but just some daily examples of dukkha as change.
So we read about 3 kinds of dukkha. So everyone is familiar with dukkha, when there's painful feeling, painful bodily feeling or mental feeling, unpleasant feeling. Clearly it's unsatisfactory, it's dukkha. One doesn't need to hear the Buddha's teachings to know that that which is unpleasant is suffering or unsatisfactory. And the second kind of dukkha, viparinama dukkha, is a little more subtle. What is pleasant, for example, sitting on the seat and the cushion is just right and the softness is experienced with pleasant feeling, but that pleasant feeling doesn't last at all. It arises and falls away. So the pleasant feeling is also dukkha, because there's clinging to that pleasant feeling, but it's gone instantly. So the first kind of dukkha is characterized by unpleasant feeling, and viparinama is characterized by, or sometimes said in short, to be pleasant feeling. So even pleasant feeling is dukkha because it's so brief and then gone, but we find it so important and cling to it all the time. And then the third kind of dukkha is the absolute truth of dukkha, the first noble truth, that whatever is conditioned to arise, no matter unpleasant feeling, pleasant feeling, or any other reality, even the understanding or the metta now, is dukkha because it's conditioned and falls away instantly, and it's not self, it's not in anyone's control. And this is sankhara dukkha, the deep truth of dukkha, which can only be understood through the Buddha's teaching through the understanding of realities as not self, as anatta, not in anyone's control. So even the highest jhana, even great understanding, whatever arises is dukkha, unsatisfactory, not any refuge at all.
So it would be right to say then that music was viparamanama dukkha, because you have a pleasant feeling while the music's playing, and then the music stops, the pleasant feeling stops. It will stop. Could we say that's an example of this?
Pleasant feeling, it's gone instantly. It cannot be made to last at all. So it seems so pleasant when listening to the music that is just right, or when eating the delicious mango, the taste is so good at the time, but that pleasant feeling is dukkha, because it cannot last at all.
It's
I
not the
watched
music. It's not the music or the mango that's viparinama dukkha. It's the fact that the pleasant feeling is lost.
Yes, yes. I saw the film West Side Story. There's a new one a couple of days ago, and it struck me that Maria fell in love with this person. But of course, it struck me that falling in love with somebody, you only love them at the moment of thinking about them. And actually, that's very, very short. So if you're making coffee and thinking about making coffee, that you're not in love with anybody at all, because the object of thinking is the coffee. So you only love that person at the moment of thinking about them, and that pleasant feeling can't last. It only lasts as long as the thinking lasts. So that's a kind of viparinama dukkha. Is that right?
It seems one's in love with the other person or with the coffee, but actually one's just in love and addicted to one's own pleasant feeling, and one's own pleasant feeling never lasts at all. That's why there's such sorrow and anguish when the object of strong attachment is no longer there. So it's the pleasant feeling that one's so addicted to. And that's the viparinama, the pleasant feeling that doesn't stay.
Alan, in the First Noble Truth, the way it's explained or expanded on, it talks about association with the disliked and separation from the liked as dukkha. So it's the separation from the liked that is what is meant by the viparinama dukkha.
Yeah, I see. Yes, I do remember that. Yes, it's all included. That's part of it there. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
As Sarah, hello. I just continuing on from what you said about dukkha, I was wondering where the experience of and it's at a conceptual level, realizing that planning and trying to organize one's life or any particular activities is subject to frustration, and that understanding can lead to some sort of a feeling of dismay, I suppose, because there's not the deep and direct experience of impermanence, but there's that at the level of thinking that it's like a sort of a glimpse that things actually are not under our control. And because the idea of not self is at the core of that, but even I think before that, coming close to that understanding, there is still that experience of frustration. Now, it's not a physical suffering, but it is a kind of a mental suffering. That interestingly, and this is, I suppose, what I'd like you to comment on, the flip side is actually very useful. But at a conventional level, it seems like it's all one's plans are never going to be realized, etc., because of the uncertainty of reality. However, if we flip that around, it can actually lead to a level of understanding and insight. So where do you think that sits in terms of the way you've described the categories of dukkha?
I was thinking of Eve's conversation with Ajahn and Ajahn comment that when we talk about realities being conditioned, unless there's the understanding of the reality itself, we can talk about how whatever arises is not in control and is conditioned and can't be made to happen as we would like it. But actually, it's only by understanding the realities themselves that there can really be the appreciation of what is meant by conditioned and unsatisfactory. Otherwise, we just have a story about how our plans haven't eventuated as we'd like, and we can't control this and that. So it has to get closer and closer to the absolute truth of life at this moment to really understand that it is conditioned, it is anatta, and so we can talk about understanding the unpleasant feeling or the pleasant feeling or other realities as dukkha, but only by understanding more about seeing now as just a reality, not in anyone's control. Hearing now is just a reality, not in anyone's control. Can it really become a little bit more apparent that actually I cannot do anything, I cannot make anything occur. It's a fantasy to think that I can arrange life as I'd like it or make anything happen the way I'd like it, because in fact life just consists of these different realities, and each one just arises by its own conditions, and there's no one there to decide or plan or make anything happen. But so we live in this fantasy world all the time, but just the understanding gets a little bit closer to the truth of life at this moment. Like now, who knows what thinking will occur next, or what seeing will see, or what hearing will hear. It all just depends on different conditions. And this is the meaning of dukkha, that whatever arises is impermanent and not in anyone's control at all.
Yes, I think that's what I meant by the flip side, that, well, there probably wouldn't be a flip side in the absence of Dhamma. There would just be dismay. But the
benefit is beginning to appreciate it as it is.
And then
the relief, as Ajahn mentioned, yes. Relief that really, in truth, you or I can't do anything because there's no you or I to do anything.
And it becomes clearer the link between the first noble truth and the second because of that, because the thinking of these concepts in terms of Dhamma is like, I suppose, a glimpse of the path, that the path is the way of, is what addresses that glimpse of impermanence, I suppose.
And as Ajahn was saying to Eve, the understanding, the appreciation more and more of what the conditioned realities are at this moment is the only way that there will gradually be the letting go of the strong stranglehold of clinging with the idea of self, that I can do something, I can change life, I can make things happen. And so only with the letting go of that clinging and idea of self can there be a little more detachment, a little more understanding that what is conditioned is life at this very moment. A little more, a little more. And like you say, that's the second noble truth, the clinging to what is, but actually what is just that which is conditioned. And this is, I think it comes back a bit to the topic you brought up last week about sati and sampajanya, and how the Buddha taught about the deep truths in every sutta, in every text. But as Ajahn stressed at the time, it depends on the listener whether it is read or heard with no understanding, or a little understanding, or with direct understanding, or the clear understanding enough to become enlightened. So the truth is the truth. The truth is that each reality is conditioned and anatta, but it depends when we read or listen how much can be appreciated at the time.
Yes.
Perhaps Ajahn will have more to add now, because I know there's not a lot of time.
If there's very firm confidence of what is there has to be conditioned, it can answer anything right then. How one think about that, how one plan about that. There must be conditions for whatever arises, anytime, anywhere, any what. And there can be the development of no one and no thing at all, little by little, at moment of understanding the truth, no matter what is there. It's conditioned to be that, such that, only that idea, only that kind of thinking, only that kind of feeling, liking, so on, everything. It can bring about little by little the understanding and firm confidence of no one. It's not me who has such thinking or thought about such and such by conditions. And the condition can be this life or other life or long time ago, years and years ago, accumulated until it's time ready to condition that very moment. It's by conditions. Since they are real, they cannot be changed at all because it's so short. How can anyone change it? And the conditions condition it. No one can do anything at all. Only different conditions. Chitta is conditioned by citasikas at any time. Sati is citasika. Anger is cetasika, dependent on accumulation and the time ready to condition what is there. It has to be there.
And Sarah mentioned that sense of relief, and you often mention that, Ajahn. And I suppose that there's also a sense of equanimity when there's maybe even a small amount of understanding that nothing can be managed, that everything is by conditions, that can bring some equanimity, I suppose, is the best word.
Any expectation?
I think, to be honest, there's probably always some expectation until there isn't, until that.
No matter what degree, Panya can understand it clearly when time comes. But now it's time to consider the truth when it's there. But in a day, is there any time thinking about the truth at moment of eating, walking, thinking? How rare, or none at all, by conditions, no regret, no expectation, depending on conditions. That is the understanding of anatta and more confidence of no one, and the understanding of parami. No matter what is there, wholesome or unwholesome, it's conditioned only at that very moment only, and then gone. Relax, it's gone. So next moment can be moment of understanding the truth, and at moment of understanding conditions, it's the moment of having more confidence of no one and nothing at all. Otherwise, there must be object of clinging when something is left to be something. That's why it has to be clear understanding. Whatever is there in life at any time, because of hearing, understanding more and more, can condition that very moment of thinking differently from before, which has no understanding enough. That's why even thinking about the truth is conditioned. And actually, everything pops up by conditions, but no right understanding to experience the popping up of what is there at all, because they are so close from moment to moment. And it means that how Panya is sharp enough to understand the popping up of that from nowhere, nothing, but by conditions only. More confidence of condition, less taking it for self. I can do, or I think, or I work. That's why Buddha taught about different realities, different characteristics, different function of each reality. Even they are so close, but they are different ones. And right understanding can understand as much as one has accumulated, not to be Sariputta, Mokkallana, and so on, but there can be the understanding of the truth of the reality, which experiences to understand what is meant by that which arises, no shape and no form, but experiences an object right now, from moment to moment, non-stop. The stream, the flux of Pawanga, interrupted by processes, that's all, gone, like a dream, because they are not there anymore.
Actually, Ajahn, it just occurs to me, although we think of impermanence as being, as Sarah just described, an aspect of, a very significant aspect of dukkha, but in actual fact, because everything falls away, it means that every everything that arises is a new opportunity for understanding. So yes, it's that just occurred, that when you say, are there any expectations? I suppose that at a conventional level, it would not be honest to say that there weren't, but I think that knowing that each moment can be something that is quite unexpected is also, I think that can be a source of maybe some degree of calmness or acceptance. Yes. I have to thank you. There was something that you said last week, and it was about letting right understanding take care of itself. And that really stayed with me as something that was just really, really important to recall.
Panya knows a little more confidence of the truth when it's there. No one has done for it to arise at all, but by conditions, like holding the knife's handle. Who knows how much it wears away? By only one touch. So the way it is has to be the way it is.
Yes. Thank you, Ajahn.
Sawadika.
Sawadika, thank you.
Sawadee-kap, Ajahn. Thank you very much, Ajahn.
Thank
Happy
you.
New Year to everyone.
Thank you, May.
Happy New
Best
Year.
wishes for the year
Bye.
ahead.